Greetings and salutations, my dear Vikings. We are back with a special guest. We're going to have a look at Burden of Command, and I think there's no one better to give us a little bit of insights behind the scenes and what is going on than Luke, the project lead of the game, and who's been working hardly on giving us a very immersive and very deep dive into how does it feel to lead a group into war, the heaviness of burden that you have as a commander, and on top of that, with a little bit of a cherish of tactical combat and, as I call them, sexagons, because I do like, hexagons strategy.
Yes.
Welcome aboard, Luke. How you doing?
Thank you. Well, it's a privilege to be here. I'm particularly keen to talk to your audience because of the mix of RPGers and strategy players, which I am both myself. And I have a fun, opening, weird line for your audience and you, which I don't think you'll be able to interpret. So let me start with it, and then I'll interpret it.
Okay.
You're getting it field tested here. I've only used it once before. My family stared at me when I did it, so that worked kind of. Here we are. I am a born again RPGer based on a drunk. I feel fairly confident you've never heard that before. So,
born again RPG based on a drunk.
Yeah, you can quote me on that, though. It may get me in trouble. So, let me explain that. So, even though I am only 23, somehow I was present when D&D started in the 70s. So my history, which will connect to this audience, is I started with a board game called Gettysburg, which was a board war game. I'm from a Southern family, so we're always interested in the Civil War, and my father's Virginian, and I'm Virginian. And then I played that, and then I went to a gaming convention called Origins, which focused on war games then, board war games, because they're computers. This is the 70s, I confess. Computers were barely emerging. And I went to this bizarre thing called Dungeons and Dragons, which I don't even know why I signed up for it. I mean, I don't know. And it blew my mind. Like, of course, it blows anybody's mind the first time they encounter it. And so this could be a long story. I'll try to keep it short. Short version is I went back, tried to recreate it with a friend and I, and we flailed and realized, boy, you really do need a rule set for this. So we got the rules, which you could barely afford. I'm like 16. And then I learned how to be a dungeon master. Now, why am I telling this story? I think it's particularly interesting for this audience. Where did D&D come from? D&D came from a war game, Chainmail, which was a medieval miniature system. So the first version of D&D was very wargamey. In some ways, it still is. Play Baldur's Gate 3. That's a pretty damn tactical game. So I played it like a wargamer, meaning, let's put it in your terms. I played it like a strategy guy. I was always min-maxing. How does our party optimize its assault in this door? Then, this is the RPG side for the RPG audience, because you take away one thing today, I hope you take away Burden is a leadership RPG, and I'm trying to make the case here with my friend. So, I went to a convention. I played D&D with my kids. I hadn't done it. I'm an adult. I haven't played in quite a few decades. And I go in, and I'm playing, and we're doing what I'm used to as a strategist. We're standing in front of the door. Of course, one must listen at the door, figure out what the enemy is inside, bless the team, add all kinds of buffs. Then with the perfect party order, go in and crush them, because that's how you play D&D. So while we're starting to do that, one of the other players just bursts open the door and charges in. I'm like, what the hell? And all hell broke loose. We didn't even know what was in the room. And why was he doing that? Because he was role-playing a sort of constantly drunk mercenary. And I'd never run into a real role player before, and it was eye-opening. So that's the drunk that made me an evangelist role player. So what I'm trying to do for you guys with Burden is put you in the boots of an infantry leader in World War II. You're put in moral burden of command situations. You connect to your men. You make tactical decisions on how to command your company using action points, what XCOM might call, XCOM action points, we call orders, to organize the company. You to handle their morale. The music is about burden of command. The art is trying to communicate you're responsible for people who are real. They're not, but it's role playing. What is your mindset? Are you zealous like Spears and Band of Brothers, etc.? Now, I'm in danger of going on, but my point is, if you want, I can tell you for every element of the game why we try to make it a leadership role-playing game as opposed to a war game, which it's not, though it draws on that, as opposed to a min-max role-playing game where you optimize your party, which you can make it into, but I hope you won't. And, we try to make it, and it's not a single person fantasy thing. It's a authentic, credible, we hope, lead a Band of Brothers like experience, we hope.
And I think you kind of very good nailed that vibe from the tutorial part that we played. For those interested, the video's out on the tubes, where we dive into the beginning of the boot camp, where it's, the mechanics are explained, your order system are explained. I find it also very interesting that I've only seen this recently in another turn-based strategy game called Old Worlds that also uses orders to command your troops, in a sense of like trying to roleplay of you are actually physically telling people to do things, and it tries through the order system to capture the time frame that this passes, because you can't not as a commander order, I don't know, 100 people at the same time. You have to give specific moves to each individual units to do and execute. And it's a very intriguing hierarchy that you went there in order to have your group leaders of your platoon, and then you have the captain above them that can kind of like help and mitigate some of your missing orders that you have in that case to, I don't know, make like an extra move or give them some extra buffs.
That is good for you, man. I spent tons of time thinking about other games and designs and trying to match them up, and I know Old World, and I kind of knew what you just said, but I'm sort of stunned. I never put 2 and 2 together, and 4, of course, Old World is very similar. The command there is, at the level of your civilization, how do you spend your action points across it? God, that is I'm not being, when I say nice things, I say them only if I believe them. I do try to be nice, but only if I believe it. That is an insight, and I just put it in. I will be stealing your point, probably without credit, in future talks.
Totally fine.
Old World is actually a very good analogy. May I say one fun thing on that? So Sid Meier said, games are a series of interesting decisions. Yeah. So I always thought about that. My background is biology, animal behavior, psychology, a lot of weird stuff like that. My dad was a historian that too. So as animals, we think all the time about how do we spend our precious calories. For instance, why do we all have TV? Well, it used to be TV remotes. Why do we all sit on the couch now and use remotes? Not that many calories to get up and change the game or the station, but we do it because we count every calorie. Cool experiment. Dogs. You take dogs and you put food and water in front of them. They do what we would do. Oh, have a bite. Oh, have a drink. Oh, have a bite. Oh, have a drink, whatever. Now, you start spreading the food and the water. Suddenly they start optimizing like a little economist. Oh, I will eat 10 minutes of food because I know I have to walk 20 minutes to get to the water, and then I'll drink a ton of water. Smart animals. My point to you is, the moment I put you as a player in a situation where I don't give you enough action points to do what you want, man, your animal brain, and I'm not insulting you, I'm an animal, animal brain says, oh my God, I have to think hard here. How do I get all the stuff I want? You didn't give me enough.
Yeah, and I found the mechanic that you're doing very clever. Also with the think of to make it kind of like realistic in the sense of that the enemy responds to your actions. Meaning, how it works in the game that in Burden is that you choose one of your platoon leaders, and then you can give commands to his squads. But if you want, say, have a situation where you need some, I don't know, mortar support, you have to kind of like end your turn, ends in terms of like not really end it, but like skip it. So your enemy reacts, and then you can choose another leader to give the mortar command in. and then you kind of like again skip it, and it's kind of like a back and forth. It's because you mentioned D&D as a dungeon master, a system that I like to use instead of initiative rolls. I roll a d6 die, and the higher number goes first, and then we do just a back and forth between player and
That's
NPCs.
interesting. Good for you.
So I'll let the
I would,
players decide to strategize together and choose who wants to go first, and then I react with one of the NPCs. Then that, and kind of like the same thing is happening as well in Burden. Really
no,
love that.
that's interesting. My family's got me back. I'm actually DMing every week now across the distributed. So I might think about that. Yeah, I stole that mechanic honestly from various board game efforts that do this kind of alternating command. I mean, most creativity is really gluing together other people's good ideas, if we're honest. Um, so just hopefully in a good way. Why'd I do that? Same reason you probably did it for D&D. In real combat, of course, it'd probably be real time. Well, obviously be real time, but everything's happening at once, right? While you're sitting here with thinking about what you should do, the enemy's trying to kill you. So it's a little tricky. So in a turn-based, we can try to imitate that by alternating, like I said. And then it's again, it's a very interesting decision, I hope. Which you're like, well, I really want to activate my platoon on the flank to get them. But boy, I really need to activate this platoon here so I can put down fire first. But I really, etc., right? Or I really need to bring in, Stern with the mortars for the reasons you said. But of course, if you make that decision, then you're giving the enemy a chance to respond. That's why the captain is an interesting piece, right? He's like your chess queen. In a sense, he's somebody who can activate anybody on the board. So, okay, I'll use this platoon to suppress, but then I can't activate the flanking platoon. I'll use the captain to activate the flanking platoon, at least some of them, and coordinate. In other words, the captain is a coordinating force in the company. Now, why did I do that? Leadership RPG. What should the captain be? The captain should be a coordinating force in the company.
Exactly. And to kind of like sweeten the deal, what you guys did is also as you progress in the story and in your decision making, your platoon, your squads, your captains, etc., generates experience, and that experience and resources that you get, you can then spend in your intermission. Let's call it like that before you go into the next chapter in I don't know, upgrading the experience of your captain, upgrading the experience of a squad, giving them higher star rankings and making them kind of like veteran status in a sense. That then equals then into more orders, more proficiency, being better on the field, and this kind of like step by step progress of your units and step by step progress of your idea and character that you're building, because you got to interact with your troops, you got to interact with people, you'll have to choose how you
Yep.
answer certain things, and that makes you maybe sarcastic or not sarcastic, or you really have the chance to role play the leadership as how you think you would do it. Or I, in my place, I always mirror myself into the game, like how would I respond if I would be in that situation. And it's,
Let me
I think, a chef's
encourage you
kiss
along.
what you did there.
Thank you. That's kind. Let me encourage you along these lines. First, by the way, in terms of improvement of the company, I know of no one who's not frustrated in the early boot camps when their squads don't do what they're ordered. Well, the reality is when troops are ordered to do things like assault, they might do lip service if they didn't want to, because who wants a bayonet in the stomach or shot down while you run across the field? Think of Gallipoli or something. So, oh yes, Captain, but then they kind of, oh gee, I just fell down strangely behind that rock while I'm doing your assault. So statistics, such as they are something like 40 to 45% without a leader. As you start to bring in leaders, go to 70 to 75% with good leader. And then after that has to be experience. Now we also give you a flanking bonus if you really pull it off, and then you can get to 100% because players are just not used to giving an order and not having it happen. That's frustrating, right? And me too, but it's some of the reality. But as your troops get better, you start to be able to rely on them to do what you order to the point where you may regret it. Like they get this mechanic called Undaunted, where they're so good, they will run across the field under fire. And I can point to some history in this and not go to ground. And then, yeah, they'll take that position for you, but you may lose a lot of men because they probably should have gone to ground. So now on the spending resources to shape your company and the interweave, we worked really hard We had sort of a wargamey-ish scenario designer strategy people. For the board game, we had writers who had only written interactive fiction from Choice of Games, Alan and Paul.
Mm-hmm.
And getting those two types of people to coordinate was hard. And they came from different cultures. And they weren't necessarily open to the other culture initially. Like, well, no, you shouldn't be picking a scenario based on narrative. Well, no, that's a boring narrative situation, even though you like it tactically. But now they work together. So we work very hard, as you said. The decision you make on the narrative maybe changes the battlefield, or maybe it changes the loyalty of your men, or maybe it changes the trust, or maybe that decision later will lead to interaction with your company, your colonel, that will have consequences for your company. So we try to interweave. It's not like, oh, let's do some fiction, let's do some fighting, let's do some fiction. It is sort of fiction, but they influence it, we hope, and we've gotten feedback a lot. And I'll close by saying, yeah, I loved the first ever military role-playing game that was digital, which was, I would say, Panzer General. Very simple, great game, now called Panzer Corps, but basically your units gain experience, right? And they get a lot better with experience. And I always wanted to recreate that experience in a game. And now we do it in a way that's about improving the morale of your troops and the trust of your leaders and so forth.
I am kind of like mind blown where the inspiration comes from, how you're putting this all together. And to summarize for those who maybe just joined us, is we have I think I would want to narrow it down, a visual novel with choose your own adventure set in a World War II setting, with as a cherry on top and to complement the whole journey of you being in command and have the burden of command, as the name of the game is as well. Fantastic hexagon based strategy with an action point resource system behind it and a leadership system behind it, where your leaders will have to give out the orders to activate those action points. So you have to kind of like very cleverly calculate what's and how you want to proceed in and on the battlefield. And on top of that, we have also some meta progression, let's go like that, where you
Good work.
progress with your troops from mission to mission and they become better. Or in your case, as you just mentioned, maybe too good and they execute maybe ridiculous commands of yours
Yeah,
without
maybe
a
they do
second
too much
thought.
what you want. Yeah. One way I've had people describe to me, which I like kind of, is Tactical Crusader Kings 3.
Tactical Crusaders thing, yeah, I mean, in a sense, Crusader Kings is very
Right?
similar
It's
with
historical role
choosing.
playing inside a larger historical context, but the emphasis is on a tactical level. But for instance, you will, I don't know if you've done it yet, but you will actually go into Rome, which is not a fight. You'll go in and have narrative adventures in Rome if you choose to, and Naples also, that have nothing to do with the battlefield, but will matter to your relationships with your men.
Here. I think if you have still the time, let's jump in for a quick 10 minutes of where we're boot camp stomped. I think we just finished the campaign tutorial and are actually now starting the
Oh,
proper campaign.
this will be, oh, well now, okay, audience, you've suffered through the boot camp, right? It's a necessary evil, though some interesting things happen, we think. And we've gotten some quite positive feedback as well as like, why do I have to do it? Now I would say this is a point where most people become quite engaged. I can say that objectively, if you go run the meter on our Steam page, it says we're 81 or 82% approval, very positive, and you say has had 2 to 3 hours play, it goes to 89 to 90%. Pretty telling, right? So this is, I hope, where you've paid your price in boot camp, like real soldiers did in a sense, and now you get rewarded by maybe dying.
Potentially. So let me just turn the filter off of the background over here so you can see my screen, so you don't have any delay. We're just, I think, at the end of Camp Pickett, where we have some of these points left, as you said, or as we said earlier, we have loyalty, prestige, and replacements. Maybe some beginner tips, or is there some hints that you could give somebody's trying to start to play, what he should keep an eye out, or where he should invest points into, or what's important?
Well, the irony is I don't play as much as I like because I'm doing all the engineering or bugs around it. But you'd probably be better after you played longer. They should ask you, not me. That
Fair
being
enough.
said, I would say, I would say it slightly fancily. I would probably shape your company asymmetrically, meaning, rather than spread it all out, maybe you have sort of your assault squad or two, right? The 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 most important thing you can do is get one leader in good shape with one squad, probably early on, enough that you can sort of control those assaults and succeed on them, or you can control that fire base. You're with the machine guns very effective. So spreading evenly everywhere, I'm thinking others could critique me better than me, not as optimal initially. But then, of course, you'll become too dependent on that squad. Something bad will happen to them and you'll regret it. So it's, pick your poison. I would sort of do a bit of it at the beginning and then spread out because you don't, it's like XCOM. You invest all your efforts in your wonderful super soldiers and then they get killed. Kind of a
Yeah.
problem for your super strategy. The only thing I would say is a subtlety, and I don't have answers for you, but Stern's weapon platoon with the machine guns and mortars, tricky to manage. It's hard to move machine guns up fast. So what some players have done, but it's an advanced tactic, is they will really try to focus on getting one of the machine guns or the mortars, more of the machine guns, really pumped up so they get extra movement so they can keep up. But that's very advanced. I would encourage that first. I would say your mortar's incredibly important. Get your leaders up there spotting, put down artillery. I mean, it's the most effective weapon you have normally to suppress the enemy. And
That's
my
true.
my final tip, and I should shut up, but I don't know that I have brilliant insights here on what to do. I know the battlefield more than this stage, honestly,
Gotcha,
because
gotcha.
I don't get to play long campaigns.
Well, then I'll just decide here that we're gonna give our grunt
Tell me what
workers.
your strategy is.
I think what I've noticed is that very often I have missed one action point at the early stage to just do that last push to get the
Yeah.
position ready. So I think I'll use the first platoon to get them all at star 1 units. So we have that one
When you get
extra.
to 3 stars, you'll get an extra action point or order.
Oh, it was the 3 stars for the action. Okay, I thought it
Mhm.
was the first
But
star
every
already
time you
giving the
add a
action.
star, but every time you add a star, it's 10% more likely they'll do what you say. 10% they'll win initiative and win a fight. 10% everything, right? Just everything improves incrementally by star.
That's fantastic. So then also what I love is that trust meter with every commander and their groups. Apparently the people of his MGs and Moses are not very trusted in Stern's
So
command.
how is trust earned? I did research on this, and the short version is the evidence suggests, who knows really, right? But one way trust is basically, hey, is my leader putting his ass on the line for me, and is he competent? That would be the summary. And then the mechanics try and force that is, well, was your leader involved in a firefight? Well, he's putting his ass on the line. I guess he does. He is willing. He's leading from the front. But it's great here, Stern. He's with me. We fired, but did we just lose? Maybe I didn't want this wonderful quote unquote leader leading me here. I don't trust him now because he's going to get me killed.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
that's how the mechanics work. On Arian, if you lead from the front bravely and boldly like a movie, I predict you will be dead fairly early in the campaign if you just constantly do it.
True, true. So is there a chance when another unit shoots on your units and there's a leader with them that it's the leader?
Good subtlety. So the leaders are typically hidden unless you get lucky. But if you notice one squad on the enemy side, this is a tip, is resisting your fire. They just seem to recover quickly, or they don't take as much, or they seem to beat you up when you thought you were going to win. There's probably a hidden leader on that side, which is bad. On the other hand, that'd be a great place to take out. Because guess what? When the AI loses its leader, it suffers the same things you do. It gets a crappy new leader, relatively speaking, normally. Not crappy, but worse. The platoon's freaked out because they just lost their leader. And now that enemy platoon, is vulnerable because you took away their leadership.
So can that happen to you as a player as well? That your platoon leaders
Yes.
and is
On this role playing, please, um, don't don't save scum. I save scum, but remember, I'm an evangelist RPGer. Burst through that door. Take the consequences. We won't kick you out of the campaign for losing leaders. We won't kick you out for losing a mission. Role play. Real leaders make mistakes. If we had more time, I'd read you a wonderful little speech on that. But the short version is real leaders made mistakes, and that's part of leadership. And there will be no burden of command if you save scum, because of course everything will work out dandy.
Exactly. I'm in general not a fan of it. Even if games do not provide with an Iron Man mode or hardcore mode, I kind of always do my own hardcore modes, whatever we play, and
I'm not
stick with our
quite as good
decisions.
as that.
Say again?
I don't want to talk about Age of Wonders 4 and save scumming. I might have to go to confession.
Quick side note: we're gonna do an Age of Wonders 4 multiplayer next week.
Oh, great game. Great game.
I also love that you guys are bringing a lot of media that has been used during that time, from all kinds of articles, posters, etc., to kind of like wing the mood of what's going on there and what kind of media was consumed and seen by the people during that time.
Well, we have a fanatical group of volunteers who colorize all the photos, try to improve their legibility, and get historical resources. Quite a few of them vets. And so they've killed themselves, I hope you can see, in terms of trying to connect you to the real experience.
It's fantastic. Tank counter.
Oh, okay. You're at this one. All right. You're not quite to Morocco. Yes. This is actually interesting, but I think I'll keep my mouth quiet. But this will be not just, I promise you this will be narrative as well as tactical, and that's all I'm going to say.
Fair enough.
So the 6 of us go downtown Bloomington, Indiana, for Indiana University. We're all going to join.
I don't hear him, by the way. I assume your audience is.
Well, I still only weighed about
because it's
123 or 124 pounds, and I was 5'11", 6 foot tall. And the recruiter sort of hum-hawed around and said, well, we're filled up right now. You come back in 6 months. So we were all of us were tall, skinny, I guess. So we all went downtown, a couple blocks downtown Bloomington, walked in the recruiting office, Army, sat down, and the recruiter just gave us a piece of paper and says, sign here. That's simple.
How hard was it to collect all these kind of like footages from people?
There were several issues. One was finding them. Rights is always another issue. We had to do a lot of rounds. And also, some of the videos quite old, and I was fairly weak shape, and we had to work on that fairly hard. And then to find the right kind of quotes for what we're trying to do. So, yeah, it took a fair bit of work, honestly.
I'm getting a little bit of a flashback here with the rations because I also served in the Austrian army over here. And the shapes and looks are, of course, different, but I just got the taste of this crackers in my
mouth. If you're making commentary from your experience, that would be, I think, quite interesting for the audience.
Definitely. So, let's have a look here. What are we having? Saturday morning, trouble in the barracks. Specifically, 6 cartons of Kia rations were found stashed in the ceiling. No cigarettes, no candies, no biscuits, Sergeant Bennett notes, as the two of you sort through the cardboard cartoon. They left the meat cans. Guess they weren't hungry for anything but sweets and cigs. So we'll have to answer for this theft, and no one has stepped forward to take responsibility for it.
What a shock.
And here, of course, and here again we can decide. I also like the approach that if somebody is more interesting on the strategical parts and want to min-max, you give them the chance of having this little pop-up saying what this decision does.
Let me talk about that when you have a moment.
Yeah,
that's very interesting. So I was playing with my family recently, and yes. So why did we do what you just said? We talked to some senior designers with a lot more experience when we started, and they said this issue is called design transparency. Meaning, do you tell players what the effects of their choices will be or not? There's a case for both, right? In the real world, nobody tells you the outcome before you do an action. But of course, many games do things like tell you exactly what in Slay the Spire, what the enemy plans to do, right? So that's transparency. But the opposite is sort of, fog of war, I guess you call it, or something for role-playing. So I played with my family, and I realized that every time I moused over, I was turning my brain into min-max, right? Because, I don't care what the words say. I want +2 in loyalty. So what I started doing was putting my mouse on top of the choices, not reading the mouse overs until I'd made my role-playing choice. Then I'd confirm, okay, well, I didn't realize it meant quite that. Maybe I don't mean that even as a role player. But I role-played first. And so we're actually thinking for the next version, what we may do is have an option, or maybe just decide that normally if you want to role-play, right, it's just normally off. You don't know. I thought transparency was a way to go when I started because I was a min-maxer, right? I hadn't been born again. But now that I'm more into a role-playing as an approach, I think I would probably suppress these. But, you can min-max it. All I'm just saying is there's so many games where you can min-max, and I love that too. But this is trying to be a different game, so I just encourage you not to.
Exactly. And I think it's okay to have it, and I would love, as well, as you mentioned, to have the option to just turn on roleplay mode on, for example. We mentioned it earlier, Old World has that. Before you start a play, you can activate roleplay mode, and then all of your decisions are just based on what you would do in terms of roleplay, and it doesn't tell you the outcome for it.
I studied it, but I haven't played it yet. It's sitting on my desktop, of course. Okay.
So, in that case, if somebody is stealing things, I would say to investigate further. I would not punish anybody, straight up. Conduct a quick investigation looking for candy wrappers and biscuit crumbs, but no such clues surface as soon as enough are forced to wrap things up. An inquiry might follow, but that could take weeks to resolve. Yeah, I'll just do the paperwork and ask for an inquiry. No one will be punished yet. You do requirement paperwork and submit it. By the time it catches up with the company, you may already be overseas, but no one can doubt that you went through the proper channels for this. Can't prove anything, but we can march at night. Better schedule additional guard duties and additional fire watches. I think I just got to an additional fire watch to amp up security.
Yep.
These are difficult times, and a little extra security may go a long way. The men understand that, even though they might not like it. Come the start of the next week, you and Bennett watch the men march past what Sergeant Grant calls cadence. What is a cadence?
That is like, hey there, 1, 2, 1, 2, hey there, 1, 2. It's basically a song to march to.
Gotcha, marching song, so to say. Their two leans arose to review, their full packs and rifles swaying beneath the colorful canopy. Love the shots, by the way, as well. And then we, again, to the mention of, visual novel. A fine Virginia day for March, with blue skies and cooling winds. I'm kind of a very realistic person. Not as happy.
Well, you've served.
So this will definitely get harder. Okay. You fall in beside them, your own gates matching their own. Along the nearby roads, you see the other officers of Nickel Company talking into the shade of a big oak tree, their own platoons resting nearby. Can't see either way, Wilson says to Dearborn and Stern, his voice just barely edging above the marching song. You've never known until you hear that first bullet snap. I'm curious. I'm a curious person. I would eavesdrop. Indeed, Dearborn replies. Battle is the only way to separate gold from dross, and our favorite lieutenant has yet to feel that heat. Stern says notably silent. None of them quite glance your way when you finally approach. The coveted engine breaks up the tromp of boots of tanks, and the dark army green rattles down the roads. You men split off to either side and salute. Perched atop of oncoming tank is your company commander, Captain Lamb. He returns the salute to your men, and then, once the tank clatters to a halt, clambers down. I love, by the way, because I just read the salute at the very beginning of the game, where your was he drill sergeant or somebody who's like testing you comes up, and you have the chance to salute him, and he's like, I chose that, and he was like, we're on the battlefield. That is like marking me to be shot at. I was like, oh, okay. I see.
Well, we made clipboard umpire somebody to hate deliberately, right?
Yeah.
As part of the a little bit of a narrative trick, but also they aren't there to be your friend, and they want you to hate them in a certain sense because they want you to internalize the lessons.
And then again, I would probably, in this situation, just shut up and let the lieutenants and the commander just move by and just wait for him to go on without any comment. This is a splendid opportunity, Lamb says. Your record recommends your platoon to this training, and I admire how you kept your authority without a twist of tyranny. A difficult balance, but you managed it. Is he reacted differently to what he did prior in the boot camp with the text?
Well, I can't speak to exact detail, but I promise you the writers do tons of tracking of things you do. And for example, things that happened in Morocco that you did will be referenced 2 or 3 years later in Germany.
Wow. Wow, that's massive. I love when your actions have consequences and carry weight over.
Yep.
But it will guide this beast to the training grounds to get an idea of what the tank can do. I heard that a voice calls out from the hatch of the tank, barely topping the idling engine. A moment later, a scruffy tanker pops his head out, stares at you, then Lamb. That's Sergeant Lynch, Lamb says, and neatly hides his grin. See you on the field. Lamb heads towards the gathering of Nickel Company, stepping beneath the shade of the big oak tree. So... at least I won't hunt for the place. Without a map or any direction, oh, look at that. A tank has a carry lot and all the important stuff.
Something we did again. So we're always trying to do the human face of war. So when we started the project, and this was learning, of course, we did what everybody else does. Oh, you have a tank, let's get a photo of a tank. Oh, look at that cool Tiger tank or whatever. But over time, we kept thinking human face of war, and we realized, tanks impersonal make war look very clean and cool and sexy and lots of steel and big bullets, and shells. And so, but people are in those beasts. And when the tanks are destroyed, people die horribly. And so, it's necessary, but it's reality. And so, we went out of our way after that. If you see armor pictures, we try really hard for there always to be people in it. Now, we can't always pull it off, but it's conscious, right? Because like Band of Brothers, war is a human experience. Terrible and beautiful sometimes, namely things like brotherly love, sacrifice for others, but obvious also terrible things.
Totally agree with that. I'd say, for the sake of the presentation, what I normally don't like personally is we're gonna quick skip a little bit to jump to the strategical view as well.
It's pros heavy, ideal for streaming. The demos, by the way, if you ever want to do like Utweiler or Bardenberg or Sacred Ground, are deliberately designed for you, much less pros. And Utweiler is very challenging. I think you know what you're doing. Try that one.
There we go. Try it out. So we can. I love also that you can edit your troops and give them names. And
so I'm going to let you go at this point because I should be solving bugs, so I get less people screaming at the forums. I will say you get to play with tanks here, but shockingly, you will not get to play with tanks a lot in the campaign because you're an infantry grunt. You don't get cool toys. Maybe you do get it some, but not as much as you like. I promise you that. And damn it, the enemy gets it sometimes. And that's not fair when you've got grunts and they've got tanks. So Good luck on those. This one will be interesting. You'll learn about tank tactics and so forth. But also that you'll find this is a very narratively interesting one too. So good luck. Thank you for this opportunity. It really was a privilege to talk to strategy RPGers. I consider myself a strategy RPGer, honestly. So I hope I've intrigued you, and stick with this guy into Morocco. Now, if you decide he needs to be relieved in Morocco, he's getting too many people killed, contact me and we'll see what we can do. But,
thank you kindly, Luke, for your precious time.
This is your last learning scenario. You've been good watching this far, and after this, you get to watch him suffer in interesting ways in real combat. So that should be rewarding.
Thank you kindly, Luke, for your precious time and for giving us an insight behind Burden of Command. Have a good one.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
So, Muddy Vikings, now it is just you and I. And as we see, we're jumping over into the commands lead of a tank. Just for UI, Explanation, if you have not seen our tutorial run, how it works over here is we have our leader of a platoon. So in this case, we have our tank commander and a tank below. And in order for our tank to move, our commander has to give an order. That means it will take away an AP action point from him and an action point from the unit that is executing the command. For making it a little bit easier, I think they went for the narrative, not narrative design, for the gameplay design of to activate a unit, you just need one order. You don't have to do for every action they do, give them more and more AP points. It's just like activate it as 1 AP, then it can move as many AP they have and execute as they do. And yeah, well, you just go with them and have special abilities to boost their morale or bolster their their effectiveness. And then we have, of course, the turn-based over here where we skip turn and let the enemy do something, and then it goes back and forth until nobody has any APs left, and then the APs get reset to plan some more. Good. Let's have a look here. Our tanks can pass through light woods, can pass through medium woods, are fine on roads, cannot pass through rocky terrain, cannot traverse heavy woods, cannot get into the water, and we overall want to mulch it over there. Good. 1 second. At least my voice went there away for a second. Good. Wow, they have quite the range to traverse. Since they want us to go over there, and this is an, I hope, training operation, we're gonna straight up go without checking for enemies or be cautious in our movements. So right click over there, took us 1 AP from everybody, and we're moving through the country. So next move is again over the bridge on that side. The driver is, look at that. Image courtesy of the Library of Congress. Stewart tank at Fort Knox. Photo 7709. The driver eases into neutral and lets the bandit coast to halt. Sergeant Lynch pops back and then gestures proudly to the field of green in front of you. Welcome to the range, Lieutenant, Sergeant Lynch calls out over the din of the engine. In a few minutes, we got to make some shots for real. The bandit's little 35mm gun might seem like it's better suited for hunting squirrels, but it's quite a kick. Got a few personal questions for you. Fine by me, Lieutenant. Get paid by the hour. Why is your tank called Bandit? I was only got a nickname, Sergeant Lynch says with just a hint of a smile. Someone gives it to you. Okay. Is your gunner a good shot? Let's say he'd been plenty of practice, Sergeant Lynch. We saw that. Lump said you were busted down. They limited us to 3 rounds on the range, and apparently it can't count. But no harm done, right? All that means is that we get more practice. True. Okay, enough chatting. Get to the firing range. How do you want to do this? Lynch asks. I've given a lift to plenty of officers, and they all learn differently. So, who are you really? It's a good question. All right, what kind of leader am I? There are 8 different mindsets that the leader might employ to help them navigate the ever-present tension between man and mission that often boils over into the crucible of war. All right, tell me about the mindsets. There are aggressive doctrines, idealism, and zeal. 3 others are preventative, cunning, discipline, and caution. And there are those centered specifically on the man or the mission, compassion or professionalism. Compassion and professionalism. Compassion compels the men to do great things by the bonds of fellowship. Professionalism achieves success by utilizing the army system. Tell me about the idealism doctrine. Doctrine pursues solutions via army methods. Idealism focuses on inspiring the men. Zeal seeks to overcome trouble with vigorous effort. Choose my initial mindset. a leader's primary mindset influences what other mindsets they can learn. To the left of it on the wheel and to the right of them. That means a given leader may invest in only 5 mindsets total. Ooh. My primary mindset will be very important. No leader can be everything. That's true. So, unsustainable mindsets, attainable mindsets. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, so 5 we can. And the other 3 on the opposite side we cannot. Good to know. Each mindset has a passive ability and either an activate ability or company ability. If a leader possesses a mindset value greater than 2, then the mindset abilities become enabled. If it's only on 1, it's not enabled. A lieutenant may employ a single active ability of any type only once per scenario. A captain may employ an active ability for each mindset that is enabled. Okay, so lieutenants, a single active one per scenario, captain can each active one. Okay, passive abilities may trigger repeatedly for any leader. Fair enough. And captain with many mindsets is particularly potent. Mindsets can have a value no higher than 5. Furthermore, no more than 3 total mindsets may be able to be enabled with a value greater than 2. For example, Lieutenant Dearborn might have these mindsets available to him. Idealism, not enabled. Zeal, not enabled. The value is largely just grown. Cunning, primary and enabled. Professionalism, enabled. Discipline, enabled. 5 possible mindsets, up to 3 enabled. Gotcha. So, consider discipline. Iron Hearts. Battle is brutal, there's no flinching from that, and the goal of discipline-based leader is to make it that their soldiers will not break and run from the inferno of combat. Choose discipline. I endure. You will train the men like they will fight, so they will fight like they train, with solid spines and iron hearts. That will do for now. Target practice on the way, Sergeant. So, move over there. We have to turn and end again because our tank has no AP left. Sergeant Lentz makes a great show of surveying the fields on the 4. So, let's move up there. See some tank block up there. The bandit crests the rise. A flag goes up across the way, the referee holding the levels of the familiar banner towards you. Killed by enemy action. Sergeant Lynn says and shrugs, you ordered me to move in plain view when another way might have been concealed our movements. I mean, tanks can hide like infantry can, and the bandit here isn't going to get tuckered out like them either. The safest way is the safer road. I get it, just move on. The signal Lynn to keep moving, and after he gives the driver a little kick, the dead tank motors onwards. The shooting range is just that. Okay, so because I moved up the hill instead of in between, I was apparently presenting myself and getting shot at. Dude, these tutorials are brutal, but they're preparing for fights, and he's my favorite, Mr. Clipboard. Your tank passes by a familiar captain with a clipboard. Yeah, we died. We get it, Sergeant Lynn's notes above the rumble engine. That fella gets most of us at least once. Always use a covered approach when practical. The bandit clatters to a halt. In the distance are several burned out trucks, each atop separate concrete slabs. The ruined hulks are just sitting there, waiting to be hit. There's a lot that goes into taking a shot, Sergeant Liz tells. Accuracy sucks pawn stones if we move in. We have to call a short halt if we go into open fire. There we go. The gunner moves into position behind the cannon, shifting. The rule on the range is fire first, hit your mark, and go deep. Sergeant Lynn says. Everything else is frosting in the cake. Let's take a shot. The gunner loads a blue striped shell and closes the breech. Shoot at the truck. Wait, we have this kind of range? Wow. Good. Fire. I cannot shoot him from here, though. Shoot the truck. Tanks can't shoot again immediately after shooting the first time. We'll have to move them or end the turn first. Fair enough. Let's move up there. Let's give them press for 1 extra AP. My bad. Right click. There we go. That means they should be able to shoot. Fire on the truck. Gunner, hide X, truck, ahead, on my command. Sergeant Lynn sounds off after you give an order. Fire! The cannon cracks and the round slams down the range and burns itself into the burned-out truck. An explosion follows. That's high explosive, Sergeant Lynch calls over. We've got also shot for armored targets. Let's prepare to fire the next target. Aim shot this time, Sergeant Lynch asks. Takes a bit longer, but we generally hit what we aim at. And the range hounds didn't mind how long we take, just as long as we don't waste. Okay, let's burn up there. We're going to talk about that after this, Panda. Thanks a lot for letting me know. Linz waits for your command. So, shoot at the truck. Aimed fire. There we go. Not in a firing arc. That means we have to rotate into this direction. That costs us 1 AP. We cannot press. That means we're going to do a normal shot. Missed. Sergeant Lynn works with the gunner to find the proper range. Good hit, Sergeant. And that's the shooting drill. Are the rounds supposed to bounce like that? Practice rounds are, Lynn says, and hefts a slim 37mm round from below. It has a wide blue band about the brass and white lettering that boldly indicates, among other things, that is from the range use only. No sense using the good stuff to break something we'd have to replace, but don't you worry, when the time comes, we'll choose the best rounds for the target. There we go. So, now move up there. We have to end the turn. So get our AP back. Then waits for your command. And right click for the waypoints. Over move. Good. We have some targets over there. Let's move further. Bandit lurches to a halt. Ahead you see squads shifting about amid low cover. They've all got red armbands that makes them enemy. It's an ambush! Sergeant Litz calls back. The other crewman lets out a chorus of unsurprised chuckles. We're ever so lucky we've spotted them. Could have been a mess if they don't have AT guns up front. Time to reverse into the protected position and wait for support. Okay, let's reverse. Can do, Linz. Press the reverse button. Oh, there we go. We have a reverse button. That's good. But we don't have AP, so we have to wait. There's ever so much to learn, but the army supply plenty of manuals in addition to the experience. Fair enough. There's a lot to do. Have you opened the Bokopedia yet? Yes, I did. Great. Our team hopes you found it a useful reference for all the things we can't possibly cover. Also, we'd like you to think you had a few laughs too in another maneuver. So reverse there. Reverse. Over here. The tank reverses down the slope and out of the sight of the infantry, and even if they appear, they're just tosses of stone to the walls. We're in position, Sergeant Lentz calls out. Now we can't wait for your boys to show. So, prepare to climb down. See you around, Lentz. You hop off the bandit, the nearby umpire quickly lays out the objective. So, we're still in the lead here. Seize that objective. Okay. So, we're still in action. That means we gotta inspire our group. Bolster. We're bolstered. Now we gotta take a shot. We're not gonna take a shot. Never mind. End the turn. So now we can take a move. We have these targets over here. We have these two targets over here. We have to capture that up. What we're gonna do is we have some good positions from there. That means we're gonna try to creep up over here. You guys gonna come up here, Tom. I'm gonna move next to you.
Can't stand the things.
What? You mean today?
Never liked green eggs till I joined the army.
Then we got a bolster.
Come
the group
on!
up here. And you guys will fire on the group below. So, they have a commander in there. He's spent. That means he cannot do anything else. He's rallying the groups over there. So they're doing somewhat okay. So, looks like we're not in shooting range from over here. Fair enough. Good. Wilson and your crew. Let's jump into that bunker. Exactly. Then you with the whole band jump up top.
Move it.
They're revealed. And that means we're gonna bolster our group.
Lace up your boondockers. We're finishing this.
And we're shooting on them here. They're suppressed. They have some death even. Casualties. And with that, we are ending the turn. We're ending once more. Final objective is just over there.
Hello, LT. It's Luke.
Hey
Breaking
there,
through the
Luke.
fourth wall one last time. To wish you good luck. Things are about to get real. The burden of command, the tension between men and mission, is about to increase. Your opponents will become more capable. So I'm wishing you the best of luck in making those difficult decisions. For making it through this campaign in this war, and for having an engaging experience. But more, I hope, and the vets who are on this team also hope, it will connect you to those who have served, not only in recent wars, but in World War II, like my own mother and father. I'll leave you with the thoughts of your division commander, General Truscott.
Lucian Truscott turned his back on the living instead of facing the dead. It was, wrote, the most moving gesture I ever saw. He apologized to the dead men for their presence here. He said everybody tells leaders. It's not their fault. Oof, that's some mighty words. So we got special mortars. Over there. Of that objective there. Captain Lamb joined in. And we have the tank coming up as well. That means we are moving. And we are shooting. Should I inspire? We're gonna bolster even the shot. And we're taking a shot over there. Boom. Revealed, flanked. Somebody died. It is looking bad for them. Very, very bad. What kind of special mortar do we have? An 81mm mortar. Ooh, boy. That's nasty, I would dare say. They're still leading. We're gonna switch a turn. And we're gonna take command with Lieutenant Kormaker, myself, leading the grunts. And we're taking a shot. Wait, we're not taking a shot. We are gonna mortar these fellas down here. Very good. Everybody's suppressed. Looks like the mortar shells coming in. Nobody liked. Okay. So I have this group. Then please shoot down. They were maximally suppressed, and that means we can make an bayonet charge. Oh, we cannot. We're not close enough. But we could move down there. So let's make like that. Bolster our group.
They haven't beaten us.
Then our fangs with Lieutenant Cormaker are moving downwards. With success.
Let's get going!
And then I'm gonna assault from behind those enemy lines and take over the trenches. And succeeded. Nice. And they're gone. That position is ours. And he's spent. That means I cannot do anything else. I could take over with El Capitano here. And move. We could try to charge them. No, we don't have enough. It's too far. But we can move downwards. Perfect. In the meantime, I'm going to move the commander into the night crew. And he's hiding over there. We've shot the mortar. There's nothing else that I can do from that position. Therefore, we are going to turn, switch. Good. Wilson's taking over. Third squad moving down. And making a charge into that group. It's kind of like 60% chance that they will succeed. They did not. The press we can only give to somebody nearby. Never mind. They tried. That means we're gonna move forward. And we're gonna charge in here. Oh, wait. We can't. So we're just gonna move forward. And we're gonna rally that group
Bishop.
with the rest of the points that we have. This one will be taken over by our captain. And we're going to move in. That's that. That's basically everything we can do. Take a shot. And the crew down there below. From above to suppress. And you guys as well. There's some dead people among them. Don't know exactly how many, but there's some losses. Next turn. Turn 14. Final objective has not changed. I know. We still have turns left, so let's relax here. We need to push now over here. That means we are hopefully flanking them. They still don't want to flank. Let's try it one more time. Nope. They are stuck there. They're afraid. They don't want to go. Good. That means we are going to bolster our crew over here.
You gonna let an old man do all the work?
Yes, we do. And then we're going to charge in there with a 100% chance to take over
Lewis with me.
the position. There we go. So, last but not least, let's move up. And not hold fire, but overall, you guys are okay. Need to do anything funky. Let's shoot on that MG squad from over there. They lost also a little bit of morale. And it's now back and forth. They're on red, that's okay. We're happy with that. Moving onwards. He's rallying his group. It's not enough though. So we're gonna go with the first platoon. With me leading it. That means we are going to move over here. And are going to charge into their backs with a 100% chance.
Come on.
Take them out. Perfect. They're giving up. Flags are raised. Position has been captured. Good. That one is suppressed, meaning we can move and charge into the woods right in front of it. I think that's kind of like 50-50. Not yet. Before we do anything else, let's have Captain Lambert do another mortar shell. Exactly in that position. Reinforcements coming in. Hits. Taking down the morale even further. We're gonna bolster the morale of this group up to 3. And are now charging in to take position with an 70-ish% chance of executing the frontal attack. And we did. There we go. Main objective is ours. A cry of victory goes up. The objective is taken. We got him, boys! Red team just lost again, Sergeant Grant notes. The men of Nickel Company cheer, wheelie, and gather around. The tank likewise draws near, chewing up the ground as it goes. No, 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 no! The field empire shouts as he moves up to the tank and smacks its side twice. That holds the muddy endeavor. You'll get bogged down. He's not wrong, Sergeant Bennett. Oh gods, I remember this. I have had to exchange one time some chains from a tank, and one of these clips of chains is massively heavy. Once more, field umpire turns to you with a clipboard in hand. Behind him, the tank slips into reverse. What do we do? Bennett pushes the officer out of the way of the grinding threads, but the threads don't stop clawing backwards. Bennett falls into their path. Graphic image warning. Ooh. Chat, graphic image warning. I'm gonna try to pull Bennett out of there. Oh! You reach Bennett to the side and pull with all your might. One of his legs goes under the track with a snicking crunch. Your hand follows. Agony rises and consumes you. Medic! Sergeant Bennett survives. I have earned some loyalty because of that. Well, with that, mighty Vikings, you've got a little taste of the burden of command. Making decisions, choosing things, to what you want to happen, what you want to do, role-playing the position of command. And on top of that, have some strategical combat going down with APs and order systems between the platoon leader and above them, the captain, in order to send out the commands to your group and execute when you want to do on the battlefield. Very unique gem, highly recommended, and I'm happy that indies try and intrigue us with new approaches to the strategy genre. And I'd love to see more of RPG elements in tactical combat like these, because I don't know, I love when games are telling a story than just pure hags versus hags and number exchange. But that's me. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Thanks a lot for Luke again for taking this time for this DevTALK. I hope you enjoyed it. For those watching the video, don't forget to like and subscribe and leave comments down below that I can send over to Luke, or maybe he himself or the team will answer questions or suggestions that you have when watching the DevTALK down in the comment section below. Until next time.